Hey everybody, how are you? John here. Got another video here today in the investor series. I am doing a lot of research and really paying a lot of attention to Bitcoin. Personally, I don't really have much exposure to Bitcoin, just a teeny tiny bit to what's called GBTC, which is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and then also I have also a little bit of exposure to ARK, to the ARK Innovation Fund, and then the ARK Next Generation Fund, and the Next Generation ETF over there has some exposure to GBTC as well. But basically, certainly very intrigued with Bitcoin. It's a little fascinating to me. I don't really, I have a pretty tough time understanding it and why everybody's so crazy about it. But basically, someone I have, really followed for a bit, I'd say probably since 2018, is a guy named Tom Lee. And he has a lot of very interesting insight. First off, he's the head of research at a group called FUNDSTRAT, but he's got a lot of very interesting research on really the mechanics of things. I mean, primarily his research on the mechanics of stocks and what's going on with stocks, and he is pretty well known for really being spot on with what he said in 2020, right? But basically, Tom talks a bit about Bitcoin, and he's got a pretty aggressive price target for Bitcoin for 2021. And then also, he actually has a very good reasoning, right? He gets into the mechanics, of Bitcoin and why, it is that it would actually, who it is that's investing in it, and why it would be that it would go up, and to what level it's going to go up to. So I want to take you in there and show you what he has to say. And then also I've got a few other videos even today. At the time of this recording, it's February 2nd, 2021. And again, we're going to go into his Bitcoin prediction, which is he's predicting it to go above 100,000 in 2021. But basically, a lot of other stocks and equity price targets, that he really has. So I'm doing a couple of videos, on Tom today, and I'll put some of those other videos where he talks about equities in the description area of this video as well. Okay, here we go.
Let's pivot back to stocks, Tom. In terms of your epicenter trade, you've been on this for a while. FUNDSTRAT Global Advisors. Tom, great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Your forecast, do you wish you put out a higher number at this point, given how much Bitcoin's risen in such a short amount of time?
Yeah. That number actually came from David Greyer, who's our digital asset strategist. But I think in rounder numbers, 2021 is going to be a lot like 2017, which means Bitcoin should do even better in 2021 than it did in 2020. So something above 300%.
More than 300% return on Bitcoin. Correct. Is what you're forecasting. We were just having a conversation about the interplay or the relationship potentially of a weaker dollar and a stronger Bitcoin. Is that part of this thesis? Is that part of your thesis, Tom?
It's going to be part of it for two reasons. First, Bitcoin, it's going to be denominated in something. So if the dollar's weakening, but Bitcoin holds its value, then Bitcoin goes up. But the more important effect is this year, we did see a lot of central bank liquidity. The dollar was really strong, surprisingly for much of the year, but its weakness now really is going to make people think, how do you sort of keep a unit in sound money? A lot of people thought gold would be that sort of store, and I think it still has a reasonable basis to be, for someone to be long gold. But I think for younger folks and those who are in the digital generation, Bitcoin is that digital asset that they want to hold as a store value.
All right, let's pivot back to stocks, Tom.
Okay, so I'm not gonna do stocks right now. We're gonna go over to another question, which is actually a great question. And this is where Tom, in my view at least, Tom does a real good job of getting into some of the mechanics of Bitcoin and helping me understand a little bit better about what's going to be happening with the price here.
Hey, Tom, it's Dan Nathan. How are you, bud? Great to have you here. Quick question here on the Bitcoin, okay? The last two times the stock market has corrected meaningfully in Q4 2018 and then obviously in Q1 of this year, Bitcoin got creamed. It got cut in half on both instances. And so just help us and I guess the viewers understand a little bit, one of the kind of bull cases is that store of value, also that uncorrelated nature to traditional risk assets. Why do you think we had those sorts of corrections at that point, those crashes, and what bars it from happening this time around after such a large rally in Bitcoin over the last 6 months or so?
Yeah, Dan, it's a good point, and we have to keep in mind Bitcoin's holder base is still tiny. I don't think there's even really more than 1 million real people that own Bitcoin, compared to nearly 1 billion people that own other financial instruments. So it's tiny. The penetration's 1/1000th of where it should be. And we've written about this, but Bitcoin acts like a risk-on asset.
So you can see, obviously this was filmed, at a different time. I mean, this says that the Bitcoin price is 28,783, and right now, Bitcoin is all over the place in terms of it really, very volatile, extremely volatile asset. But as of right now, the time of this recording, Monday, February 2nd, 2021, Bitcoin is over 30,000. Is priced at over 30,000.
So in the years where the S&P's performed the best are also the best years for equities. I mean, you could even interpret it, two ways. So I think if we have a correction in stocks, then Bitcoin's going to fall. And it's because a lot of the incremental buyers, if they're in the U.S., may be using leverage or risk on or risk appetite as a reason to add to Bitcoin. So it should actually be falling if stocks fall.
Shepard Smith here.
So there you go. So what I interpret that as, everybody, is, it makes a little bit more sense to me, because, I've heard different people say different things, like, oh, they're using Bitcoin as a hedge against stocks. But what I think, what I interpret Tom is saying is, folks, when equities rise, they're going to take a portion of that rise in their portfolio of equities, and they're going to then dedicate some of that to that risk asset of Bitcoin, right? So if you hypothetically, here you are, it's the middle of the year, and you're up over 10% on your equities, let's say a little bit more aggressive, right? Let's just say 15%. You're going to take a small percentage of that, gain, right? Or that upside of the 15%, and you're going to dedicate a little bit to Bitcoin, because that people feel like that it's worth it to them to take that risk, because they've had those gains in equities. And then conversely, if stocks fall, well, then they're going to probably get out of Bitcoin as well, because they don't want to take that risk on. So in listening to Tom and interpreting what he's saying, it makes a whole lot more sense, to me, why someone would take on that risk of Bitcoin, or conversely, why they're going to then exit their position. That makes a whole lot more sense to me than, people saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to go up when stocks go down, and then the reverse, stocks go up and then Bitcoin goes down. I don't really, having Bitcoin be a hedge against stocks doesn't make as much sense to me as what I just heard, from Tom Lee there. So hopefully you guys like that. Let me know what your thoughts are on Bitcoin. I'm very determined. I've been doing a lot of research, and also doing some videos here where I find some billionaires, what they say about Bitcoin. I'd say most billionaires that I've kind of found, that I've done research on, don't like Bitcoin. They think it's ridiculous. But again, I'm neutral. I have a little bit of exposure. I got a little teeny bit of exposure on my own to GBTC, which is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and then also I have positions in ARK, Next Generation Internet ETF, and then they have their exposure changes, but you typically anywhere from 2.5% up to 4.5% exposure to GBTC over there at the ARK and Next Generation Internet Fund. Okay, hopefully you guys like that. Let me know your thoughts. If you aren't already, you can generate leads, generate profits, or just generate income from your social media profiles. I've got a program that's called Profile Profit Machine. You can partner with me and the world record holder for the fastest website funnel to hit $1 million. That record is 28 days. You just come in, you can go ahead and copy our existing funnel, and you'd have your own digital products business with as little as 90 minutes of training. Also, I have a new blueprint I came out with. I cover investing, online income, credit, business credit, financial independence, and then also at the very end, I got about 15 pages of a guide, which is all the groups, all the companies in the US that offer a free credit score, and all the groups that offer a free FICO and the corresponding bureau, and it's only $7. Netflix. So go ahead and check that out. That'll be in the link below. That link will be below in the description area as well. Thank you very much, and have a great week.